Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl, uh, back with another comic book review, and we'll be covering Invincible Iron Man 2008. Uh, this has, well, it has like a 1 through 30 something issues, then it skips over into like 500 into uh, 527, making like a complete run. Uh, but I'm covering like at least 4 particular arcs pertaining to this run. Taking, putting to the side the, these little tie-ins. Like there's like tie-ins with Fear Itself, that was running on around that year, as well as Dark Reign. Uh, so the arcs that I'll be covering, so I'll just point out to you guys so you can get like a decent uh, understanding of what the main story is with Iron Man and his supporting cast. Uh, first, issues 1 through 6, Five Nightmares. Uh, issues 25 through 33, Hammer Girls arc. 510 to 515, Demon arc. 516 through 520, Long Way Down arc. And issues 521 through 527, The Future. Those are particular arcs, that's like stick to the main crux. You can, everything in between, those are like, tie-ins to other stuff. You can read it if you want to, but yeah, well, we're skipping over those. Uh, anywho, uh, personally, I think like the first arc and then the last arc are my personal favorites, but I just finished covering uh, the Marvel animated movie Iron Man Rise of Technovore, where they have Ezekiel Stane as the primary villain, which is I think is a cool thing because I didn't know anything about Ezekiel Stane at that time that movie came out, which was around 2013, a year after the first Avengers movie. And uh, this was created about 2008. This is the first time Ezekiel Stane was created in the comics. And I dig him as an Iron Man villain. He should be right up there with like the Mandarin, who, by the way, is in this. He's like the overarching villain throughout this run. But uh, uh, you also get like uh, also Justine and Sasha Hammer. Justine is the wife of Justin Hammer, and Sasha is the granddaughter, or at least no, is the daughter. I keep calling her the granddaughter for some reason. Is the daughter of Justine Hammer, uh, and she has a relationship with Ezekiel Stane. So you got all these like interwoven. Uh, Speaking of which, like Justine, just so you know, is in a relationship with the Mandarin. So you got all these prominent, in some shape or form, Iron Man. Well, because these are like the upper echelon. Because Obadiah Stane is long dead, but Ezekiel Stane kind of took his spot as far as like the upper echelon of Iron Man rogues, and everybody else. Because you see a lot of other, pretty known uh, Iron Man rogues in this, except for I know there's like a few left out, like the Ghost. He usually is like a Iron Man bad guy, but you got Spy Master, who's kind of like Ghost without the invisible, intangible tech. So I'm pretty sure I've seen Spy Master and other stuff, but yeah, this is part of the one time that I seen him like kind of prominent. Uh, but yeah, at this stage of the game, I think there's like at least maybe some a decent while after the events of Civil War, because Stark is still in this first arc director of Shield with uh, Maria Hill as his right hand woman. And keep in mind, there's only like a couple of badass moments with Maria Hill throughout this entire run. That all the other times, she is pretty much like a complete jackass, like a just like a straight up douchebag. Like it's just like she more often than not, like Maria Hill is. I think that Maria Hill is like more often than not just acts like a dick. Even more so than Fury does. Uh, but I think that the first time I ever read anything with Maria Hill in it was Civil War, way back in college. It's the first time I actually read anything with her in it. But in this run, you get the return. If you watch my review of Demon in a Bottle, my first Iron Man comic book review, when I got this started a few weeks ago, uh, she was like security, essentially, like head of security, which typically is something like Happy Hogan usually does. You don't see Happy Hogan at all in this. All this Iron Man comics that I've been reviewing for the past few weeks. Now, one of them had Happy Hogan. There's other stuff that has him in it, but these are like major Iron Man events that has no Happy Hogan. And I'm pretty sure long after this, or I mean, it's like too long after maybe like 2012, 2013, he's in certain things. But man, it is like very odd, very odd. Because Happy Hogan usually is like a memorable supporting character in the comics for Iron Man. But there's been like recent terrorist attacks with uh, uh, people who have these unstable arc reactors in their chest. They're pretty much like different kind of suicide bomber type of people, like with people with different ideologies coming to this, mysterious individual who's implanting them with arc reactors to go to places, and wherever their little, grievance or beliefs are and want to make a statement, they have like a undetectable bomb. Uh, so you hear in like Africa, and these group of girls are just like because not many of them have like cell phones, and even like less than that house phones. So it's like a you know cool thing. There's one girl, hanging with her friends, and like right in this marketplace, these three dudes come hopping out of a car and blow this square up. The girl and her friends obviously dead, but she managed to capture this specific moment for Stark later to ascertain, and later and start doing his investigation on like, okay, somehow somebody got this tech that they should not be able to get. Then you like Stain is introduced officially, and he's going to this uh you know uh this company. This is like sell like tobacco, cigarettes, and stuff like that, those type of companies. And he's going to this boardroom, who gave Zeke the money, who they believe was going to make like people more addicted to their stuff, uh without it being like so obvious or what have you, or at least trying to you know get them more addicted to nicotine. And Zeke obviously didn't use that for their purposes. He used that money to upgrade his body, but he's further upgrading later on in the arc. And and I like this little line he gives before he ends up just vaporizing all of them with his own hidden biological tech. And he mentions listen, fellas, I make and manufacture next gen weapons for terrorists and freak show lunatics, and I'm saying this as that guy. What you do is completely evil. Like, I might deal to murderers, but you guys are addicting kids and then murdering them yourselves. And it's like that part was wild. Like, yeah, that's still wild to me. And it's like, it's like, okay, like I may be a piece of shit, but you guys are fucking evil. And it's like, okay. And then he decides, because he Zeke always views himself just like in Rise of Technovore, which I just finished reviewing. Check that out on the channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. That like button, notification bell, and thank you all very much. Uh, and even in that, it's like whatever iteration of Ezekiel Stan you see, he always, maybe it's because he has like the whole grievance with his father, because he does not like his father, he does not care his father's dead. Because he's been like a piece of shit to him. And he decides, okay, because what his father did, I guess he has a kind of personal issues with uh, uh, so-called tech geniuses or whoever, businessmen or people in that field who, in his mind, does dirt like these guys or hurt people with their stuff. Like, he views Stark in that same camp. It's like, okay, you're just as bad, with your tech, and it's like, because before he was, Iron Man, before all that, he sold his stuff, did not care, because, well, he cared, but he wanted to make sure, like, okay, I'm making these weapons for people to defend like the helpless, but there are bad guys who get a hold of these techs either on the black market or whatever, and they use it to hurt people, innocent people. And so Zeke just sees him still as that guy. So that's what he has a grudge with with Stark and guys like him. So after he kills all these people, Zeke jumps out the window, which is several stories up, and lands uh, uh, right on the ground and gets picked up by Sasha. And like, I almost, I completely forgot about this whole situation. It's always, registered very heavily to me how, like, he had his, well, at this point he didn't have to do anymore, but it's like this proto phase of his upgrades. He had to, because he turned his body into like a living weapon, and it burns off so much calories that he has to consume this paste that has like over 20,000 calories to consume in order to replenish himself, so he doesn't die from the you know the draining of his self while using his power. uh at this point in time, because my last comic book review, uh Extremis, is like a few years after the event where that he had this instruments injected in him. He still has it here, but he later gets rid of that in like pretty sure in the next arc. Uh, but yeah, But you later gets the bleeding edge armor, which you see like a little bit more efficient. Where it seems like this, seeps through his skin. And, start going after uh, uh, this splinter group of AIM guys led by this new Modoc. And this new Modoc, got like a different name to him. Because typically it's like, cause this is like a Modoc specifically for this splinter group, but uh, this one is like mental. Usually it's mental organism designed only for killing. This one is mental organism designed only for genocide. So, Mo Dog. And of course, like start make short work of this guy. And typically, Modok is a threat, but this is like Mogog, which I'm pretty sure we don't see him again. Oh, speaking of seeing people again, like I said, like Bethany Cave, I've only briefly brought it up and I kind of trailed off. Uh, from Demon Bottle, she was in that. At that time when I was reviewing that, I mentioned how like I probably won't see her after this point because Pepper Potts wasn't there, but she kind of, at my mind, took the place of Pepper, which she should have been in part of that story. But she makes a return here, and also Miss Abergast, who showed up during the Armor Wars comic book review I also did, which you can also check out. Because, like I said, this is a little more updated. This is like around like, those were around like the 70s, late 60s, early to mid 70s era. Uh, Getting towards like, the 80s. And now it's like a little bit, at this point in time, it's a little bit more modern. So Ms. Abergast, has more of a younger appearance, but still old. But, Bethany K, I like her more here than I did in Demon in the Bottle. Even though it was okay, but it's just like, it's hard to say she didn't have agency, but it's just like she had more prominence here. Maybe it's because it was like such a short arc, and this is a little more long running form, so she has more to do. But yeah, I like her better in this. So yeah, start make short work of Mogog, tosses motherfucker in the fucking space, and it's like, Iron Man, every once in a while, Iron Man fucking kills, and it's like, it is holy shit, and it's like, more often than not, he avoids that, but it's like he tosses fucker in the, like, he eventually will come down, but not my problem. I was like, holy fuck. And it's like, every once in a while, people like, get off on the boys and stuff like that. Like, yeah, like my heroes that fucking kill these fuckers. Like, fuck the world. Like, there ain't no fucking hope. Fuck that. Kill fuckers. Bang each other. Fuck each other over. Like, that. But it's like every once in a while, depending on the writer, because dang, it's like this was written by Mac Fractions, and I forgot about the name the artist, but every once in a while, depending on the writer, they can push the PG-13 type of stuff with Marvel and DC, unless it's like an Elseworld situation. They can push it, to the point where it's like, yeah, they can get freaking dark when they want to. Because, like, I think they stopped that, because if you read any comics around, like, the 60s into, like, mid-90s, maybe late 90s, sometimes, there's this little Comics Code Authority letter A on the cover on the, comics, to signify, there might be some stuff in here, not lewd or anything like that, but it's kind of like trying to protect the, Marvel and DC company when there are certain things that, like just so they won't be held liable because you never know what's inside a freaking comic or whatever. 9 times out of 10 is nothing that crazy, unless it's specifically made to be outlandish, like Batman Dan when like is dark label or black label, not meant for fucking kids. This is like a specific age group and higher. But yeah, but I think they kind of like stopped that because you don't see that, you know, I think like somewhere around mid 2000s, at the very earliest, I haven't seen that on comic books anymore. I think they kind of like, I think like the government kind of eased up over the years when it comes to that, because like they got bigger fish to fry after a while, because moms back in like the 50s and 60s, and they get like sending complaints to the government, and like, oh, they trying to influence our kids into doing crappy stuff, and it's like, or making them drink and stuff like that. These are not books. These are not real books, that kind of thing. So all right, and well, start dealing with like AIM agents, or at least some form of AIM agents in the Philippines, because the Marvel and DC, every once in a while, they like to write in some, like, because I don't think there's actually, there might be, but I don't think there's actually like a comic with just seemingly generic ass superheroes just made for a particular uh, run. Uh, like this one in the Philippines, there's this uh, group of superheroes. Uh, what they call what they call the Triumph Division, and they're kind of like a legacy kind of like figures, because any children they have will take up the mantle. But it's like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool, but what if they don't have the same powers as the predecessor? You know, or they don't have powers at all. And it's like there's like a 50-50 chance of that happening. But anyway, it's like I doubt there's like a Triumph Division comic run. I mean, I can look it up. Let's look it up right now. Marvel's Triumph Division. Hmm. It, nope. Nope. They only show up in this. They're not an actual thing. That is, yeah. I mean, to some extent, it's kind of messed up. And there's another superhero group from China in this run that I doubt have a actual comic issue. So this is like a one and only appearance, and they're here just to get fucking killed, and their children take up the mantle like a issue or two later. But these suicide bombers masquerading as monks, because this Triumph Division is getting awarded from their government for stopping this, like, saving the Philippines from this massive tsunami kind of situation. And these suicide bombers came and just end up like surprising everybody and just blowing up the entire square, with killing all the uh, surrounding civilians along with the Triumph Division. It was like really messed up. And then, of course, Zeke is supplying these suicide bombers for pay in order to get what he needs to get later on in the arc, an armor for himself, so he can actually do some damage, because he's systematically taking down Stark's different facilities, because at this point in time uh, he's just like seemingly got everything together. And of course, like certain runs when they begin, if the either one or the other is going to happen. If they high, they got to bring them down low. If they're low, you got to work them up to get to a high point. It's never like a mid tier thing when things are just meh or okay. It's like, same old stuff. Uh, it's usually, I'm not saying it never happens, but it's like, you know, more often than not, it's high or low at the beginning. So Stark, War Machine, and Pepper are investigating the site where this catastrophe happened, and Stark finds a piece of part of an arc reactor thing, and he later on goes to uh, the funeral of these group of heroes uh, sometime later, and he runs into Thor, who knew one of the members, and he comes to pay his respects. And at this point in time, uh, Thor is just thoroughly pissed at Stark, and it does have, because I still remember that, during the Civil War situation, because Thor wasn't a part of that. I forgot what he was doing in the middle of all that, on his own thing, just like in the MCU version, he's off on his own thing, so he wasn't a part of that. Similar to Hulk, he wasn't a part of that. So, what Stark did, because he needed like a powerhouse like Thor, but since Thor wasn't around, I think he made a clone of Thor that wasn't as powerful as the original. Maybe not a clone, but something like an android or something like that. And just to get like just using his likeness just to facilitate his purposes to like get more people on the side, because Stark and Rogers are just like at a certain point in Civil War, which eventually I will cover along with the film. They lost sight of what their original goal was on their stances between signing up for the registration act or not, and they just become just bitter and just like it's all about like just winning and just to prove who's right in this. And Thor, after he came back and found out what happened, is like, okay, I don't even want to talk. He's in this funeral. He barely saying two words. He barely saying anything at all to Stark. He's just there, focused on the grievers and the family members of a fallen friend. And Stark just had it up to here. And it's like before he leaves, when the funeral is over, he's like, can you talk to me? Like, hey, like I don't want, uh, this isn't about us, man. And and Stark is laying out, I was like, you don't get blame me for this. It's like, because Stark, when it comes to like taking ownership of like of his screw ups, it's like, it takes a lot to get him to that point. Uh, he's like, anytime you want to get back in the game, let me know. And like just kind of like just like a petty move, because they don't want to just duke it out right at our funeral on the near the spot where a fallen friend was laid to rest. So it's like, okay, he just takes his hammer and chips a part of Stark's armor. Wes is like, son of a, and he's like, pardon me, Iron Man, I'm needed elsewhere. Like, all this Stark is like, safe travels, man. Uh, and he's like, that selfish, righteous, stubborn, chip my suit. I was like, this dude just chipped my suit. This chaps my ass. Uh, and, and and there's not, they still young people, because later on, at China, uh, Stark goes to this gala thing. Uh, this Stark Dynamics, this think tank thing. He's like celebrating, and they hobnobbing, bumping elbows with like the rich, 1%, obviously investors and what have you. And then all these girls come, gather around Tony, and it's like, oh my god, Tony, don't you remember me, Tony? Sure don't. Uh, and then this fool got the a mitigated goal to, ask Pepper to go get them some drinks. Like, oh, would you be a dear and go get us some drinks? Uh, uh, for some champagne for the girls, will you? And like she, of course, oh, I'll get you some drinks. Come back and threw it all in his face and then stormed off out the building. And it's like, you had that fucking coming. You dumb, for a smart guy, you dumb as fuck. And it's like, why would you say that? And then of course, he bumps into Zeke after he's trying to chase after Pepper, and like a bunch of uh, suicide bombers with arc bombs in their chest blows up top of the building. But of course, like Stark is protected thanks to his suit. But because of the debris falling over, Pepper gets caught up. She's alive, but just barely. And ironically, she had to get like surgery on her heart because like just like with Tony is like there's shrapnel that is like inching closer to her heart, and so they gotta put an arc reactor in her chest. But unlike Tony, she doesn't leave it there forever because she made some kind of comment to him, telling like I don't want to be a living bomb, and it's like. And Tony in his mind is like, that's what you think of me? You think I'm just a living bomb or something? Or maybe because he sees those suicide bombers and it's like, I don't want to bomb him on fucking chest. And it's like, no, like I thanks to Daniel Rand, I got some parts and it's like, pull things together to give you like a proper arc thing, which she feels like a pull or something like that. And the way Tony describes it is kind of like how you get two magnets and you put one on the opposite end and it forces each other apart, and that's how he describes that feeling in her chest. But it's like constantly moving, and it makes her float in the air for some damn reason. Maybe it's because the limited magnetic polarity around her. Uh, but thanks to the extremists, Tony survives and saves Pepper's life. And Zeke, he was among the uh, people there caught up in that, but thanks to his body upgrades, he managed to survive. He's not like a cyborg or anything like that, but just biotech kind of thing. He ends up losing his hair just like his father. I don't know, maybe it's because like he mentions that he keeps using his power, he's eventually gonna lose his hair, and yeah, you would think it's like there's all the time it's like he gets caught up in his fires and what have you, but he's just bald like his father. You gotta make if you're doing like a Stain villain, you gotta make him bald. So he escapes out of the hospital and uh he goes to town to investigate the site to try to get some clues, and then he gets attacked by these drones, robotic drones, by the Chinese military, run by fat nerds in a computer room somewhere. Kind of reminds me of uh, Eric Cartman in like the episode of like World of Warcraft episode when he gets fat trying to uh, stop that troll that's killing everybody in World of Warcraft. That's what they look like to me. If you remember that episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, Stark makes short work of those guys. And then eventually, like Stain finally finalized his his suit. And I love this. Love every time you see like Stark and Reed together, because you know aside from maybe like Doctor Doom and Black Panther, these two are like and like what's her name with Devil Dinosaur, the little black girl, and Shuri. Uh, you know, that girl Shuri, uh, Doctor Doom, Reed, and uh, Tony Stark. In Marvel Comics is like the smartest people in the Marvel Comics, bar none. So of course we see like, because these two are playing like 3D chess, and it's like, of course they be the only two that can actually like go to each other. I'm pretty sure the others that I mentioned can easily play chess with each other at like a significant degree to think in in multiple aspects, and just like Tony can have like a peer that he can talk to without having to dumb it down for anybody, and vice versa for Reed. So I just always love these two. Like, just they need more team ups with just Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and Tony Stark, Iron Man, in things. Because I did a TV show review of uh, Fantastic Four's Fantastic Four World Greatest Heroes. It's on Disney Plus. You can check it out. It only had one season. It came out on Cartoon Network during like mid 2000s, around 2010, I think. And that is like the best iteration of the Fantastic Four. And one of my favorite episodes is when they teamed up with Iron Man to take down Doctor Doom. And like these two, Reed and Iron Man needs to have like a team up, just these two team up comic book run. And I want to read the hell out of that. And just they're just sitting around, just because Tony needs to pick his brain, because it's like he's dealing with a kid who's, as Reed put it, like you're dealing with somebody who's about as smart as you and younger, and as he's mentioned later on, and later on in other arcs, is that he's smart, but he's not smart enough to formulate anything on his own terms. It's like, not like the way you do, Stark, or I do, because we pattern our own stuff, because we built it from scratch, from our own minds. He pretty much like a vulture and gathering our scraps, or particularly your scraps, and repurposing them and claiming to be his own. And smart as he is, he's not smart enough to do anything uh, original. And I like that the interpretation of Ezekiel, because he is like a scavenger, pretty much. Uh, is more moments when like Maria Hill being like a complete bitch to Tony, because she knows that he installed an arc reactor in her chest. She figured like, why don't you give something like that to the other shield agents so we can be able to better protect people. And it's like, no, like, I'm not giving you my tech. And like, you should know me. You should know Tony Stark long enough. Anybody who's been around Tony Stark or associated with Tony Stark, teamed up with Tony Stark long enough, or at least know his origin long enough, that he stopped weapons development. He's not making weapons. He's not giving it nothing to his friends. I think as far as like rescue armor to Pep and War Machine armor to Rhodey. Maybe like aside from that, because this is closest friends. Aside from that, he's not giving anybody any tech like that, unless it's like under extreme circumstances, depending on the comic or whatever like that. But it's like, no, don't fucking ask. You know he's going to tell you no. You know the answer to that. Why do you keep asking? It's not your first time meeting this guy. And then she got a bug up her ass. She got a nerve to have a bug up her ass about it. And then she made this, like snippy little comment, like, uh, "Oh, you're gonna give it to your, so you give it to your secretary and start put, nip that in the bud right there. Don't you fucking call her a fucking secretary." And it's like, you know how, close they are, and like, maybe not intimately to your knowledge, but they've been around each other a long time. They're, bare minimum friends, and you disrespect her like that. And it's like, and she just got out of the hospital. Why the fuck would you say something like that? You bitter bitch. Because in other arc, you see that, during, uh, I'm pretty sure, like Civil War, maybe not Civil War, but during Dark Reign or something. In between this, you see that, well, yeah, it's definitely after this arc, because into, like, Devil's Reign, and there was, where it went on, where to keep, because uh, uh, Norman Osborn was running things for a while, using villains, uh, to mask them behind their, to make them the Dark Avengers, and to keep Stark's, from Norman from getting Stark's secrets, any Avengers intel or Shield intel or Iron Man intel. He had to, like, erase, a good portion of his memory. So during that period, him and Maria had like a fling, at least a one night stand kind of thing. They got close. He doesn't remember, and she's like kind of peeved about it. So she's like, throughout this entire thing, she's just got like a bug up her ass with Tony. And then, like, she made another snippy comment like, "Fine, your girlfriend. Like, she's not my girlfriend, and you don't get to call her that either." And then it's a funny little moment where it kind of did make me laugh. Where she's like, because he looked at it, because Tony Stark and his mustache, because usually he's had like a full goatee, but he got a mustache in his arc. It's like 1982 called, Magnum. It wants to know where to park that Ferrari, and then very quick with it, because Stark is very quick. Uh, he says like, Supercuts called, your next appointment is on Tuesday. It's like, that it dismissed. Uh, uh, and I laughed. I did laugh quite a bit at that, those two remarks, just firing back at each other, because it's like she doesn't care if like, technically he's her boss. She just try to give him the business regardless. And Tony decides to hatch a plan, because obviously somehow Zeke is getting pieces of his tech in order to build something, or at least to start installing, you know, arc bombs in people. So in order to track him, he put in bugs in several pieces of other armor, and goes to this guy that he apparently is like you know, he knows people in low places, to where he can try to get them out on the black market, you know, without anybody know it coming directly from him. And I put this picture up because, like, when I saw this, this is like the artist knew exactly what he was doing, because, like, why you got this guy looking at exactly like Danny DeVito with his, like, trophy wife of a girlfriend or whatever that looks exactly like Paris Hilton with a dog in her hand, a tiny little dog in her hand. And it's like, this is like so mid 2000s, when, like, Paris Hilton was like a, like, not that she's not a big deal now, but she was like everywhere. It's like a young, hot, blonde, skinny model chick with a sex tape. Little did we knew, because she was, best friends with Kim Kardashian, and she came in one club one night with, Kim, who, not frumpy, but it's like not all filled up with fillers and fake shit. Came in one night, and everybody's got like, "Ooh, who's that girl on Paris's arm?" And then she becomes like a sensation. Here we are now, stuck in Kardashian fucking land, and drives me fucking insane. Sorry, I hate the fucking Kardashians. I'm sorry, I don't like them. But anyway, he gets this guy to, get these pieces out there, so that way he's better be able to, as soon as Zeke, starts uh, getting ready to install, and like, okay, found the guy, and it looks like all the pieces again, these 5 different places where Zeke is planning these 5 separate coordinating attacks. So now, you know, we got, they trying to figure out, okay, which spot is he more likely to show up in? So it's like Long Island, Valencia, Tokyo, and Los Angeles. So it's 4 places. Uh, Second. So Zeke infiltrates the it was like the Long Island, not Long Island uh, Stark HQ as like one of the tourists, on like those Amtrak rides, viewing the facility with other tourists, and that's when like the simultaneous attacks arrive, and uh, Tony seemingly arrives, but the armor is empty because like a battle ensues, and seemingly like Zeke apparently kills Tony, takes his head off, but it's empty because Tony realizes, okay, I can't be everywhere at once, and things are starting to go off. Some were successful. Tony managed to stop the rest with his massive, because they all had Stark related stuff in them, so he can remotely shut them down thanks to the whole Armor War situation. He's, future endeavors in case somebody somehow, some fashion, get a piece of uh, uh, tech from him, he can like, easily shut them down, which he does. It's seemingly like an EMP kind of situation, and takes down Zeke with his bare hands because like that resulted in shutting down his own armor along with his. So they had like a fist fight, and like of course Zeke, is not much of a trained hand-to-hand fighter. Well, Stark has a bit more experience, clearly. Maybe not as skilled. As you see, like in Armor Wars, where he gets a little bit of no, not Armor Wars, Demon in a Bottle. You see him get a little bit of teaching from Captain America, and imagine, somewhat more every now and again with other trained fighters, so that way he can, decently defend himself. Zeke obviously doesn't have that, so you know he couldn't hang with Tony armor to armor anyway. So like even without the armor, like he still doesn't stand a chance, even less of a chance. And Zeke's trying to like call him all these kind of stuff, like a fascist or what have you. Uh, a second here. You invented and sold weapons to people around the world, like that punish them for daring to actually use them and blah blah blah. Uh, and then Tony, I like this dialogue. It was like, look at you. What have you done with your life? Come up with new excuses to kill pregnant women and old men in the name of ideology. Ideology. Uh, and you think I haven't heard that before? You think I give a damn what people think about me? I'm trying to save the world, even when it doesn't see it. You're just trying to kill people and get rich. And it's like, yeah, that's what Stark needs to say, because it's like the same old stuff. Just like with like the whole Reed Richards, because I'm glad they kind of put a stop to that, and as well as like Cyborg from DC and the Thing from the Fantastic Four, where it's like the same old like, oh, the thing, I look like a monster, or a cyborg, like I'm a monster, like I'm not human anymore, or Reed, like because the cosmic rays and the failed shields, like my family are freaks, and Tony was like, like yeah, I invented weapons and they end up hurting people. It's like that was played out. And it's like I think like after the mid 2000s, I mean, leading into like the past maybe 5, 6 years ago, maybe at the most, where you get these characters out of that little moment because it's like it got tired because they've been beating that same old drum, and I'm glad in this one, Tony finally calls it out. It's like I've heard it all before, and I'm not gonna let it get to me because like at least I am trying to do better. I've been doing better since I got out of that fucking cave. So I'm not hearing it from you or anybody else. Y'all can say what y'all want. I don't care because I know I'm doing better. And he lays this little piece of shit out. So yeah. Uh, so uh, Stain is arrested, and like for now things are all right. But Sasha ends up getting away. But we'll see her in a little bit later. Right now, in fact, with Hammer Girl's arc. Uh, uh, Sasha teaming up with her mom, Justine Hammer. Justine, my God. That's why I got confused because I keep thinking like Justine is the because it keeps saying Justine is the daughter of Stain. Uh, yeah, I think I got it right the first time. I keep getting mixed up because Justine is the daughter of Stain. No, daughter of Justin Hammer, and Sasha is the daughter of her. So yeah, she is the granddaughter of Justin Hammer. Uh, and they're debuting to this General Babbage. I keep want to say Cabbage. General Babbage uh, is witnessing this Detroit Steel, like trying to one up Iron Man, but selling directly to the American military and what have you. And Detroit Steel is being piloted by this guy named John or Johnson or whatever. It's not really important because dude's like he only shows up in this arc, and the next arc he just is completely crazy because there's probably like a thing in between because I think Fear itself is the next, like after this arc it's well, not because there's another little tie-in thing with Dr. Octopus. It was around that time when his mind's starting to go in, before he decided to switch bodies with Spider-Man, I think. It's around that thing. But Detroit Steel, this little glorified, action figure, with a goddamn chainsaw as one of his weapons. Uh, and just suited and booted in the red, white, and blue. And it's like, God, we get it. You're from America. Jesus. And so Barry's, like, he's not like really like interested because like I dealt with I dealt with Justin. Why don't you little girls like lead the war to the with the big boys? And it's like it's one of those guys. Like my you know, and I won't say it did not age well, but it's like I imagine a lot of people like think that or still think that it's like little rare occasions when you know misogynistic shit was going on. That's like an example of like true male toxicity, toxic masculinity. This is like the prime example of what it truly is, because people like to throw that around willy-nilly to any Joe Schmo of a guy that dared to bring up a fair question about some things like, oh, you just, like a toxic male. So, Justin's like, it's okay, fine. You don't want to sell to us? Well, I got something for you. So she goes to like she shows off because I had a sneaky suspicion that she had like it wasn't specified here, but just like a terrorist thing happening in China where Detroit Steel happens to be there, and takes out these terrorists and saves the day and becomes like a big deal. Then uh, now like the U.S. is like they have to like we got to get the Hammer Girls on board, because we want this tech in our stuff. And of course, Stark is not director of Shield anymore. Like I said, this is like after the whole Dark Reign debacle. So he's has gaps in memories. Uh, the Stark Company, which obviously Norman Osborn at that time acquired it, along with parts of Shield, and like had like a Dark Reign, and so now after the whole situation, Stark is trying to build up like a new company from ground up, acquiring these other tech geniuses he met along the way during his rise with Stark Industries that no longer work for him, or just people certain people he heard of. Personally, they're not really like they're not like you know really they didn't stand out to me like that. I mean, other than like Bethany, uh, and his other dude named uh 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 crap. It'll come to me later, but it's like a guy who you'll see later on why he's like stands out. But other than that, these guys are not important. They're just tech guys. But they started up a new company called Stark Resilient, and uh, Stark at this point in time has the Bleeding Edge armor. It's like at least an upgraded extremist at this point in time, because the gap in memory sacrificed in order to increase his intelligence and body to compensate for like the upgrades within the extremists. So now he's able to like the armor just comes through his skin and it comes in like an awesome way. I love it. It's very reminiscent of what you saw in Infinity War when after Tony and Bruce Banner meets up with Doctor Strange and Wong, and he's like just like the suit not coming through his skin, but it's like coming through this like apparatus around his like arc reactor, but it's somewhat similar to that. And I'm not sure about this part where it's like Babbitt is giving like Tony the riot act, because Tony is not he's withdrawing any kind of Stark Industries related things from the government. He doesn't like you never sold weapons to anybody in the first place. You've been at this for a long time, but maybe now I'm thinking about it, maybe it has something to do with what happened in Dark Reign and Norman, uh, since he acquired a large part of Stark Industries. Anything that's not Avengers related, he's able to like get off to like the government, make more cash and get more hold on everybody. But he's like Tony's like, no, give it back. I'm not doing it anymore. So Babbitt is like, got bug up his ass. Uh, but then Thor shows up. This is a moment where it's like a bit of a reconciliation between them. Not fully forgiven, but it's like, uh, Thor is like, okay, like I heard, what happened. I want to, you know, I want to help. Asgard has. I think at this point in time, Asgard is on Earth. Because during that period when Asgard was on Earth after a certain event, I forgot, but that always stuck out in my mind. It's kind of like what happens currently right now with like New Asgard in the MCU. In the comics, it happened like that, except it wasn't like a. At least I don't remember it being like a tourist trap in the comics. Because clearly, currently right now, New Asgard isn't on Earth anymore. They got after like a rebooted something or whatever. At some point, Asgard is back where it's supposed to be. But anyway, uh, uh, Thor's, you know, offering an olive branch of some kind, and says like, "Look, Asgardians, we don't have any need for these trinkets, for a mighty, mighty long time. You're welcome to gather at your heart's content, to help start your stuff." And Stark like, "I appreciate that, but want to, get this stuff, from the ground up without, kind of like backing or whatever like that. But I appreciate." It's like, dude, take the fucking, stuff and sell it and like get everything up and running, because it kind of drives me crazy when like, you got like a superpower friend. It's like Jay-Z, coming to one of his old friends, and it's like, knows like he's in trouble. He's trying to get everything back up and running after he's on like a downward kind of spiral. Like, here's like a few million. You want to start? Like, no, I want to do this on my own. Kind of like get it started back up from scratch, like I did. Blah blah blah. It's like, God, that'd be so fucking dumb, so fucking dumb. But anywho, they kind of made up. And during this conference, he's starting to tell people like, Stark Resilient is going to be new cutting edge. Uh, Fossil fuels is going to be like a thing of the past. Uh, uh, like it's all going to be everything's going to be running on arc reactors, clean renewable energy, blah blah blah. So if you get on board now, or eventually you'll be like dinosaurs, and I will put you all out of business. And he put it at a point blank. Pod's got a bug of her ass. I was like, why are you mad at him? He's not wrong. It's like, uh, you know, if this goes well, they will be put out of business. He's putting them out there on Front Street, like, like, hey, I'll let you know this now, because it's like, uh, you know, uh, getting in on the ground floor of something that's going to be like a big popping thing in the future, and it's like one of those tech geniuses telling you ahead of time, like, hey, you got to get on this thing. If you don't, uh, certain things you are used to is not going to be a thing of the past, and blah blah blah. That kind of thing. It's weird to me, like when people get mad over the most frivolous thing where it's like legitimate thing to point out. Uh, yeah, yeah, more moments with Maria Hill being a bitch and Detroit Steel being like a giant action figure. You know, all that doesn't matter at this point in time. And it's like this pretty much Stark recruiting his crew, or at least like his tech crew. Uh, then Potts decides, okay, I want the arc put back in my chest, because I guess like, you know, she wants to do more. She wants to help, that kind of thing. It's kind of reminiscent of what you like I saw from Iron Man Armored Adventures, where she got super obsessed with getting her own armor, blah blah blah. So eventually she gets her rescue armor, and it's pretty, freaking dope. Uh, uh, but you get like a moment with like the Troy Steele, stopping terrorists in China, blah blah blah. And so now Hio is getting like, whatever, like I need intel on these two women. And she's like, okay, because everybody should know about Hammer, because he's like another prominent like bad guy in like Tony Stark's Rose Gallery. If anybody who, not just a profile or anything like that, but still though, it's like if like Blizzard or the Living Laser or like uh Firebrand or whatever have children or is related to these guys, and somehow they show up prominently somewhere, you should like just immediately make a house call. And it's like, okay, we need to make sure, like, just a precaution. I know it sounds bad, but it's just like maybe not directly or whatever. Just keep a super close eye on, run investigations, whatever, spy on them. You got like a bunch of spies in your employ, get the spying, because, you know, Justin Hammer, well-known weapons dealer, well-known Iron Man, bad guy that I'm pretty sure Tony had to bring in at least a couple of times. It's kind of like discount Lex Luthor, but still like a Lex Luthor type. And it's like, okay, this guy was into some shady stuff. He employed a lot of supervillains that Iron Man particularly fought. It's like, check on his fucking daughter and granddaughter. Or at least, if their association, at least the army shouldn't be associating with somebody just because they selling you weapons. It's pretty fucking dumb with anybody associated with a well-known criminal who employed other well-known criminals and supplying them with different armor tech that cause havoc. Sure, maybe you couldn't bring them up on charges or they eluded that kind of stuff because they're super smart and blah blah blah. It's kind of like Al Capone. You couldn't arrest them on the exact crimes, so you got them on like tax evasion. So it's kind of like that. You couldn't get them on the right crimes, but you know what they did. And so anybody else, associated with them, you should keep a very close eye on, or at least not associate yourself with them, unless you want to be a bad guy too. So Rhodey and Tony go to China, meet this Detroit Steel guy, and start, briefly, like, recognize, like, sees Sasha, and it's like, I've seen her somewhere before. Yeah, I can't put my finger on it. He later figures out, like, that's uh, uh, Zeke's girlfriend. Pin Marker. That's the other tech. Well, like all the tech guys, like Messers, Kababa, Mackin, and Pin Marker. Pin Marker is the only one that's kind of like, you gotta just worry about. To help like bring up like Stark Resilient, or at least like get Stark Resilient off the ground. And Sasha starts supplying these tech geeks with. Oh, speaking of tech geeks, Maria Hill at some point mentions, called her, tech guys nerds, and like, makes some snotty comment about like interrupting their like, you know trading Pokemon cards. First off, as like one of the guys there pointed out, like, please don't call us nerds. It drives me fucking bonkers when I see like I get it's the point where they're not in that thing. They view these kind of things as geeky crap, and it was like a it's not like what it is. This is way before the MCU really started popping off, and things kind of like evolved to a point where like all this nerdy stuff is like super accepted worldwide. But this is 2008, mind you. They're still in that mindset where it's like, oh, people out there is like, oh, this is geeky stuff. So she's walking up in there in that kind of mindset, like most people at that time, where it's like, oh, you into that nerd stuff. And it's like, you don't call your fucking tech guys. Do you know how to do any of this tech stuff? No, the fuck you don't. You usually on the field or in your chair making commands. You don't know this tech stuff. Why you hire these guys because they are very good at their fucking job, and you are disrespecting them like you're on the set on fucking Archer and calling them fucking nerds. So, like, you don't have a fucking mutiny on your hands because your ass is like, super disrespectful. Secondly, it drives me fucking bonkers. You know the fucking what they call first and foremost Pokemon, and second of all, why do you fucking care? And that's not a fucking insult because you like what you like, and it's like God, it was like obviously they purposely want to make you hate Maria Hill, but you shouldn't hate Maria Hill. You just like don't like the certain choices she does, but she should still be because he's still a hero, but she shouldn't be a complete smuck of an asshole douchebag dipshit of a person. There's supposed to be a clearly like a hero of an organization that helps people. But anyway, yeah, Potts get her little rescue armor. It's all well and good. They of course they both go to this gala for this like uh for the resilient thing, and because they have like both have arc reactors in their chest. Obviously, Pepper's long since not have that in her chest anymore, but uh because of the polarities, I guess, like the magnetism feeling that I mentioned earlier, that literally are trying, the arcs reactors are literally trying to repel each other and they're trying to give each other a kiss. I thought that looked cool though. And then the Hammer ladies walk in. These four people, because they're the primary characters in this long running run, all four of them are dressed in red. This is weird. They couldn't have the Hammer ladies dressed in something different color. So the next issue gets very spy oriented because it feels like a spy oriented considering the cover uh, of issue 30. And Stark takes Sasha out for a joyride. Clearly, pumping her for information. I say pump because she at some point after a decent amount of discussion, she like, oh, I love like sex and danger are my thing, kind of blah blah blah. Very femme fatale attitude, and she starts straddling him while he's trying to maintain control of the car. But it's easy for him because the bleeding edge kind of stuff he got in his body, or extremism, whatever. They starting to blend together sometimes. He has like these little node things where he can actually like on his little knuckles he can actually see on the road, and he always see in 360 degrees kind of situation, at any time he want. And it's like I'm not sure because he's supposed to be Zeke's girlfriend. I'm not 100% sure if she actually had sex with him and got him off because it wasn't any kind of indication of that written here. But she definitely was straddling him for a decent amount of time. Then things get, definitely intense when it's like he just points it out, like, like, because of my tech, I can tell your bioengineer like Zeke, and she can fire like laser whips out of her fingers and stuff like that. So, the car crash, he suits up, she starts, first he takes off her heels, because of course I like that little moment, because like I think a lot of girls would probably do that in that moment, takes off her heels so she can actually fight without ruining them, or she can actually like walk and get some footing. And then Pepper, because she's like uh not listening, because she got like this little ear communications thing going on, so she knows what's up. She begins to suit up, leaving Miss Abergast to wrangle the party, and she backs Tony up to deal with Sasha, which she knew, like, okay, like, you got back up, like, that's so fine. I don't need to like duke it out with y'all. So she flies off, which pisses off her mom, because it's like, you overplay your hand, now you know they're gonna be really focused on us now because of you. Oh, and then those nerds that Sasha was talking to earlier, she was, getting them to get involved in this little app thing, this gaming app thing called Detroit Steel, where you control. They didn't realize they're controlling real drones, but the thing is, a video game. Oh, you can help Detroit Steel fight off bad guys, and like, do they not see what they're actually doing? Because if they are, they should be seeing themselves, as you later see, like fighting Iron Man and War Machine, and it's like, you should be putting all that crap down then, because what are you seeing? That part is confusing to me, because they still doing it and controlling all these drones. But as they test driving because they had two cars to reveal. One is like a prototype, and one not yet finished, but supposed to be the final thing. And so they was test driving the prototype on a racetrack, which blows up in Tony's face as he's trying to drive it. But luckily, his armor, popped up and protected him from the blast in like milliseconds. And of course, he's starting to understand he's being sabotaged. So they find out they got a mole somewhere in the company. So after they think, oh, and by the way, this pin marker guy kind of looks like Bill Pullman from Aliens, or at least Bill Pullman from True Lies, because he has that creepy, douchebaggy, sleazy mustache and crazy hairstyle. So he kind of looks like Bill Pullman from True Lies. Uh, so the Hammer Girls, you know, uh, entered the next phase and trying to like hinder, because at first they hindered the showcase of the Stark Resilience new arc reactor powered car at this other expo. They nixed that. They sabotaged that stuff. So they like, okay, we'll have it in my own backyard. And so they sent off these little drones, thinking like have a bunch of people thinking it's a video game. Pillmarker, who downloaded the game himself because he got addicted to it, then realized it's real because the map layout is similar to the racetrack they got on. So that's led me to believe, okay, what are they seeing? Because they got to see something through their phones to know what they're doing. I wish that was a little bit more clear. But Detroit Steel, along with a bunch of these drones, started attacking Stark, who rescue and War Machine comes as backup. And they realize all these drones are being controlled by, phones. So while Maria Hill is trying to do like a widespread kind of hack to neutralize the rest of the drones because they just keep coming, and Tony Stark's trying to focus on Detroit Steel, and it's too much for just the three of them. So they realized they was tracking their arc reactors. So Stark comes up, okay, I want to power down and drive off with the car and leave Detroit Steel away, while Rhodey and as well as the other drones, while Rhodey and Pepper powers down their stuff. Thing is, if Pepper has a power down, she still has an arc reactor in her freaking chest, so that means that has to power down. And since it's connected to organic tissue, that means that she has uh, uh, at least like 5 or 6 minutes before she dies without that. Which I guess Stark thinks like, oh, that's long enough, which eventually it is. And Maria Hill realized, Babbage got something to do with this, and she literally parks the helicarrier right outside of Pentagon, and it's like, we don't know exactly what you're doing, but we know you're doing something with those Hammer Girls. Call off Detroit Steel, because you don't want there's not a negotiation. You don't want me as an enemy. This is one of those badass moments that I like Maria Hill in. She's like, just parks up, throws her big dick around, and like made this dude like this clearly misogynistic you know you know asshole general. So he backs off, or at least calls. He doesn't claim any kind of responsibility, but he ends up calling Justin Hammer. Says like, call off your dog, do it now, like or you're not getting this, but and that and the other. So she calls off Detroit Steel, and then the guy inside takes a photo up with Tony saying like, oh, we were just stopping these remote drones and like saving the day. We were working together. It's like he was clearly fighting him. Like nobody was stupid. I don't know why people bought that mess. Uh, and clearly they're whispering each other. It's not over. You're damn right, it's not over. Uh, but in the end, this forces uh, Babbage to owe Justine a favor, which she calls immediately, saying like, we want the release of Ezekiel Stain, who's being held up pretty much like Guantanamo, I think. And Sasha is like, oh, I think it's time for you to meet my parents. And they meet up with he meets Justine for the first time along with the Mandarin, which wondering why in the world that this is the first time Justine meet this guy, but whatever. But this is like the Mandarin I like because he actually got freaking ring on his fingers and not bracelets on his arms that fire concussion blast. Because that to this day, that's one of those things in the MCU I really do not care for. Because the Mandarin is already powerful as it is, and it makes him exceedingly more special than any. It separates him from any other villain because he's the only one who has like these not magic rings, but a lot of people would interpret it being magic, but they're tech rings that belong to Fing Fang Foom's race, who use these as powering their tech. They're essentially kind of like batteries in a way. Um, now the Hammer Girls arc is finished. Now we are skipping over to over the Fear Itself arc, issue 510. Demon, 510 into 515, Demon, where now Stain is working with the Mandarin, having Mandarin build this giant, you know, Titantomech is what he's called it. But, having other Iron Man rogues stealing certain things and causing, sabotage through different parts of the world. And also, Stark will later get subpoenaed because after the Fear Itself situation, I remember distinctly because that was like a hell of an event that after the day was saved and won, Stark had his first drink in a long, long while since Demon in the Bottle situation. And it seemed like one of those moments where he kind of like earned it kind of situation, but he was like a known alcoholic. So Mandarin found out, he, systematically trying to ruin, you know, Tony's image and company and everything like that all at once before he ultimately kills him. So while he's dealing with that on that front, Mandarin and Stain sends Blizzard to Dubai and freezing like the water supply and everything like that, and just wrecking everything, causing disruptions, like in a lot of places. And you later find out that Mandarin, you get all these bad guys working for him, but they all have bombs in their chest that he can blow up at any time. It's like you're pulling like a Amanda Waller Suicide Squad situation, and it's like not funny, but it's like, wow, this is kind of a ripoff. But yeah, but then staying throughout this whole time, it's like you see there's certain moments where it's like things go sour in the relationship with Mandarin and him, where Stain's not one to take over. It's supposed to be like a partnership kind of situation, but these villain team ups don't work out because one's clearly the alpha and the other. I mean, both can be alphas, but one's like an alpha clearly. And Mandarin, the only person who out alpha Mandarin is probably Doctor Doom and Dormammu and Thanos. People who got like a more significant power than him. And Stain, unfortunately, can't measure up to his level of power. He later tried to fight Mandarin. That doesn't bode well for him. That was pretty goddamn stupid, as a matter of fact. But then you see like a moment where Stark, after the events of Fear Itself, because he helped with the dwarves in Svartalheim, make like armor and all this other stuff to help fight off the enemies in that worldwide event. He got this guy with him on Earth, and it's like you barely see him. He showed up one time in this issue. Then by the end of the entire rest of the run, he shows up one other time, and it's like I'm pretty sure he was significant during the Fear Itself run with Tony, because dwarves are like smiths makers, like making all kinds of stuff for Asgardians. But here it's like you might as well not have brought him because he does not impact. He goes to AA meeting with Tony, and it's like he does not leave an impact. I don't know why you brought him along, and it's like so weird. And it's like you brought somebody along with you, back to your main adventure after a big event. You would think he or she should add something to your main story if you're tagging them along. Otherwise, he serves no purpose. He hasn't served any purpose. That's probably one of the worst things I did not like. It was glaring of a problem. And like he gets subpoena, and obviously it's like the only way to get Tony Stark with a subpoena. Honey, a honeypot situation. And then like there was a situation where I'm pretty sure it was in Fear itself, where an image leaked of which is weird because like the board of directors who have no power and they call some kind of meeting, which they can do about like not competence, but like the mental state of Pepper Potts after seeing an image of her like distraught over the whole crisis of Fear itself. Obviously, it was overwhelming and things like that, and she's trying to handle things on the home front while Tony's up with the dwarves, doing things on his front, and somehow a picture leaked of her obviously distressed and like overwhelmed, and it's like very private, and it's like, and of course I'm pretty sure women probably have to deal with this kind of crap because women can't bear their emotions without being their like mental state being brought into question or whatever like that by the patriarchy. And it was like so fucking dumb. Why would you care or dare to ask like a question like her capabilities of running the company and Stark's absence and stuff like that, all because she's like having like a moment. Thing is private, and of course Bethany leaked that photo because apparently, which is like a fault in Pepper's. Uh, there's a fault that lays at Pepper's feet because when Bethany was brought along to be head of security for Stark Resilient, Pepper, you know, kind of in a way gatekeeping her in a way. This might be the word, or at least kind of like trying to stonewall her in some way or shape or form. We can't bring it on because the pay and this that, and the other. It was all horse shit, and Bethany found out, and it's like like I don't like that. I don't like being toiled with like that. Uh, I need to be security and do what I need to do. I need to know everything. I need to do my job, and you were hindering that. And of course, all the while she's talking like that, she's at doing like a target range, and she's a very good shot and like hit the dead on spot multiple times without going all over the place, and like she's telling Potts off, which the way she described it, kind of like Pepper's had it coming. Because like the way she described it, Pepper did that, which she doesn't deny. That was fucked up. So, and then of course Potts grabs the, for some reason, still loaded uh, machine gun on the desk and starts firing at the target paper, and she missed every doggone shot. Like, what are you aiming at? And it's like you shouldn't be able to miss all the bullets. And she's like, ah, trying to release like stress or whatever. It's like, of course, because she can't fight Bethany because Bethany will beat her ass. Uh, but then she's like, so I was like, put it aside because like, okay, let's get to work. And it's like, okay, that happened. But I just want to bring that up because I think that's like one of those rare moments when Pepper really kind of like stepped out of bounds. Usually she's the one that's like, you know, keep people from doing things like that or like keep things on track and make sure everybody's able to do their job. But clearly she's feeling threatened because Bethany's pretty much like Pepper in a way. The way she's designed, it seems like Pepper but more scowly. Uh, all the while this happened, Stark's fighting the living laser and gets ass handed to him. The Hammers, Justine Hammers checking up on, or it's like, yeah, it's Justine checking up on a spy master who's, you know, trying to get the lowdown on Stark Resilient kind of thing. You'll see that unfold in a little bit. And of course, like got Sting, and it's like like everything going on with like Manners getting tits up because Manor is making all these like crazy decisions. Like I want you to add tentacles to my Titanomax. Like tentacles. What the? It's like, are you making hentai porn? Like like what the? It's like, don't question me. And then like he's like, and then like forcing him to call him master and obey directly. That kind of thing. So things are going like pear shaped with that relationship. Of course, there's more images, but like for some reason, Streamlabs don't want to put the rest up for some reason. I don't know. But anyway, uh, moving forward in the Demon Arc, uh, there's another group of heroes in China, like I mentioned earlier. They call themselves the Dynasty. One of which kind of reminds me of Genji from Overwatch. It's pretty much freaking Genji, except he has two swords instead of one. But he calls himself Saber. So you got Saber, the Star, who's pretty much like Chinese Captain America. Uh, yeah, Weather Witch, discount Weather Wizard, this kind of like a pseudo Iron Man armor, but bulkier. This guy, called the Revolutionary, and then this, woman called Soldier One. Is pretty much like a very beefy, uh, strong woman kind of thing. And it's like, okay, once again, not a real like actual comic superhero team up. This is like a one-off made up heroes for this one run. And then, of course, this is like Detroit Steel, the guy who's supposed to be piloting the Detroit Steel armor, gone insane somehow. Probably something happened in the Fear Itself situation. Now, Sasha is doing the piloting of Detroit Steel from time to time. Uh, so Detroit Steel is like trying to get his armor back. So he's trying to make his way back to uh, America because during the Fear of Stealth event, Paris gets not decimated, but like it became like a massive battleground during that event. And little by little, uh, Sting's not able to reach out to Sasha. Usually, he always in communication with her, but eventually, all that sees when Mandarin starts taking control of his mind just to make sure he does what he needs to do. Eventually, after he tried to fight back, because he eventually put like a bomb in Stain's chest too, until this dude actually made, because he couldn't put himself under and have somebody else do it, so he put himself through surgery himself and cut out the bomb out of his own doggone chest like a fucking baller. Like holy shit. And then he decided to take on Mandarin after that level of clearly trauma, and he went on and he's too weak, and it's like he doesn't have the power to by himself take on the Mandarin, but he got himself got his butt handed to him. But anyway, that's later on. But as for the time, he's Mandarin is employing a lot of Mandarin bad guys. Uh, and through the subpoena, it's like just to stick it to the government trying to seize assets or trying to get information from Stark so they can sift through. So you instead of digitizing and putting on like a flash drive all this information for them to sift through a little bit easier, he decided to give them boxes, thousands upon thousands of boxes through dozens of trucks for them to go through just to be petty as hell. which I respect as hell. And then Babbage, along with Justine, brought to Tony this little ring to put on his chest, so that way they can be able to, because he got drunk that one time, and he couldn't because these people have it out for Tony, because yeah, most other people, it's bad because you are like a recovering alcoholic, and like you got off the wagon. Granted, it was during like a massive event that you was a part of, that helped save the earth. You probably owe that drink, but I guess he kind of went overboard, and I guess for one night, it wasn't like a series of things. But Mandarin kind of put it out there, and now everybody's causing, because like, oh, it's like, if a pilot gets drunk, we take his pilot's license. If a cop gets drunk, we take his badge. If you, we won't even let you drive behind the wheel at this point, let alone a full suit of armor. So now, since the armor is a part of you, we can't exactly take it away. But what we can do is be able to manually shut it down if we feel like you're crossing, going overboard dangerously. And it's like, and then of course, Stark raised a fit and called them out. And was like, just, highly, irregular, is, disrespectful. Like, get the hell out of my office. Is full of shit. Like, all you, like, like, have it out for me, obviously. But it's full because he doesn't want to make the situation worse. He decides, okay, I have to corroborate, so that way it won't completely shut me down and like, hurt people around me. We're trying to, because we're trying to start a business, and these people left everything behind to, throw it all in my all their eggs in my basket. So I have to comply. But then, of course, they every once in a while, because Justine has the trigger, so she shuts him down every time he's trying to fight like a bad guy, like Whirlwind, for example. And then Rhodey is trying to like stop the melter, because it's like a guy who's, like a kid who pretty much like got a few screws loose. And according to Tony, there's been like quite a few melters out there in the past, and he just as stupid. But since Tony and Pepper couldn't get there in time to back Rhodey up, Living Laser shows up to help Melter, and I'm pretty sure it was Whirlwind who got there. Yeah, who ends up seemingly killing uh, Rhodey, but it was like a subterfuge by Stark, who only let in Rhodey on to the scam, because he doesn't know how far. Because he knew the Mandarin has some reason. He's sabotaging him some way or shape or form. So he didn't even tell Pepper, because we later on find out that she was compromised because her rescue armor got hacked. So Rhodey, because I'm not gonna bury the lead here. There was like this new Iron Man, this black and blue Iron Man thing, but it's Rhodey underneath. It clearly was Rhodey. It was a funny moment that, because at some point in the next arc, Pepper is hooking up with don't know how long time has passed exactly, but shouldn't be for some reason at some point one of the supporter guys, this old dude Welsh, is in relationship on some level with Pepper. They sleep in the same bed, and she pointed out after tussling with this new Iron Man, she managed to get one of the boots off, and he sees like a black foot, and he made some comment because she thinks like that's gotta be Rhodey, because Rhodey might have faked his death, and it's not beyond the thing that Tony would do, and he points out like so one African American can able to pilot a suit of armor. A little bit racist, it sounds a little racist. Like, come on, and it's not like, know what I mean? It's like, come on. It's just, something that Tony would do. Well, she was right, but he has a point. It was kind of racist. But it's all a ploy to weed out the saboteur, which turns out to be Spy Master, who disguised himself as Pim Marker, who I guess Spy Master is homosexual because he was in a relationship with the other tech guys in Resilient named Tim, who I don't know how much time has went by, probably during these little Fear of Self event where you get a little call from uh Justine saying like okay now, and then starts like you know saying like going behind a Tim and with a knife, and it's like I just want to let you know I really did love you. And he got like close with a lot of people, especially Tim. And it's like you done a lot of jobs. This can't be the first time you know caught feelings or like friendships or whatever like that. You always stay true to the business. But whatever. He stabs Tim, but he struck non-vital areas so that way he can still manage to live through this. Because he didn't have the heart to actually land fatal blows. But uh, there was a moment during this whole ordeal, like even like Captain America and uh, Carol Danvers, or she's called Warbird at this point in time, but you later know her to be Captain Marvel. And they try to offer assistance for Tony, and he's not, accepting it. And it's kind of like a weird moment where like Tony is like, I guess he had to put on the facade or something maybe of like coming unglued or whatever like that. Even amongst his closest allies, and like he tried to take a swing at Captain America. It's like you could have easily let these guys know. There's no way the men would get a hold of these guys, but whatever. It seems uh, like they keep him out the ruse. But you try to take a swing at Cap. Cap easily catch both of his hands, and he sounds like this. He sounds like tells Tony like I want you to think very carefully about what you do next, because what I'm going to do next, Tony, is break your nose with my forehead. Then I'm going to crush your hands and mine. So now then, what about you? And it says like, Carol, thank you, but no thank you, I'm fine. Cap, I'll be taking a leave of absence from the Avengers for a while. Thank you for understanding. So I was like, yeah, that was part of the smart play, because Cap can lay you out very easily. Of course, staying the last conversation he has with Sasha is like, your father's in my head, and then Sasha's mentioning her yogurt tastes funny. It's supposed to be on secure line. It's like, you asked me, is this a secure line just to tell me your yogurt tastes funny? But she later figures it was poisoned by Detroit Steel just to get her to fall asleep so he can use her as collateral to get his Detroit armor. He ends up dying in a cool way again by fighting Sasha while in his armor, which just cut to the chase is like, there's a whole ordeal where he's trying to use her as like a hostage in order to get to his Detroit Steel, which Justine thought, I can just blow it up once I get inside. But she didn't change the passwords. He infiltrated, took away that little uh, detonation button, and tried to attack everybody. And Sasha has a baller ass moment by stopping this guy because he's fucking nuts, and takes off his whole doggone head with her energy whips. Which I thought his head would be in the middle of the chest because this thing is huge, but I guess his head is still part of the actual metal head. And then, of course, uh, Stain keep telling Mandarin, okay, your little gizmos are not ready yet, but you still want to test anyway or make it move. And of course, things start falling apart. He gets mad and starts beating the hell out of Sting. Sting can't even defend himself. So while all that is going on, Spy Master tries to uh, get to everybody else in this because they all have Stark Resilient in this little think tank home where they can all live with like supposed to be decent security, but because he, he was a part of the team, he can actually gain access. Uh, uh, Bethany comes in, tries and saves Welsh, who took a bullet for her, and then Miss Abigail came out like Alfred with the shotgun and put a few slugs in Spy Master's chest. Stark eventually gets the extremists out of his body. It's inert, so Justine can't use it. So that way, they have no choice, Gabbage and Justine, to take this little metal ring off him. And like Posse points out, like, yeah, we got a whole team of lawyers down there. If you don't take this off of him right fucking now, so they had no choice but to take it off him because no need, because he's not a danger to anybody because he doesn't have a suit anymore, or at least like a built-in suit no more. So all the while, new Iron Man's handling business with like all these other criminals. But uh, at the end of this, like, what is it? Yeah, this long way down arc at this point. Uh, After that, uh, start getting saved by this new Iron Man, which they put up the rules like, hey, this, like, I don't know this guy, and he's like, I'm going to sue you for copyright, guy, and blah blah blah. Obviously, it's like crap, and like Bethany is pissed at Stark because this wouldn't have happened. We got two guys in surgery right now because you didn't properly like give me all the intel that I need, and you're keeping stuff to yourself. Blah blah blah. There's always a thing with Stark about keeping stuff to himself and not telling everybody the full story. Then in the end, he removed himself from Stark Resilient, so now they're just resilient and realize that somehow like Mandarin got inside Tony's head now, and Stark doesn't realize he's drawing blueprints for these Titantomech things, and it's like, what am I drawing? And it's like, it's what you need to do for me, and I want you to kneel and call me master, and he forces Tony to call him, and kneels and call him master. So in the final arc of this entire issue, the future, Tony's in Mandarin City, probably somewhere in China, where they kept, it's pretty much like a uh, almost uh, like a concentration camp for like all of Tony's known rogues there to be deployed whenever uh, Mandarin see fit. While Mandarin decides, okay, he not literally lobotomize, but like mechanically lobotomize Stain because he failed him too many times. And he's supposed to be some kind of genius, so he put this like thing on his head to where he's pretty much like a not a drooling idiot, but it's like he's like Igor from Dr. Frankenstein stuff, and he's helping Tony uh, build a proper Titanomech. All the while, like Rhodey's handling business as the new Iron Man, blah blah blah, with Rhodey, with Rescue, and you feel bad for Stan, and like you clearly see like Tony feeling bad for Stan because like you know Manor is just like a dictator at this point. And so uh, Stark pretty much comes to like a realization. Okay, we gotta. Uh, he eventually unlobotomize Stain, and they work together. Got the other criminals there, at least a few of them. You got Living Laser, Blizzard, and Whirlwind to come on board. And it's like, okay, this guy is clearly saying he's trying to, because he building these titanomechs to wield because he used each one to power each one of his rings to power each one of the few titanomechs to wield, each one of their like abilities. So that way, he can make way for his masters, who he sees as the Makalans, who create the Makalan rings, the lizard people. And so, like, Tony's like, okay, like, clearly you don't like me. That's fine. We'll deal with it later. But this guy is going to destroy the entire planet, have it ruled by these monsters. We need to work together. Stop him now. We can hash out issues another time when the world is, not going to suffer. So they form an unlikely alliance because, like, I like all this come to a head now with all his rogues that he's been dealing with throughout this entire run so far, leading up to the big boss now, Mandarin, who's pretty much putting bombs in their chest, which eventually they disable, and uh, and eventually rescue the other inmates from Mandarin's grasp. And Bethany brings on the Trion Division and like the Chinese Avengers, who he helped throughout the other arcs, to come in to further back up to put down these mechs. And of course, is Stain, who lobotomizes, ironically, the Mandarin with like a kind of energy kind of blade thing, which pisses off Stark. Like, that's not what we do things. I said no killing. And it's like, this guy's a freaking monster. He doesn't deserve any sympathy. F him. He's literally just gonna like bring down aliens on us. Like, don't you get that? And so, uh, eventually, Stain makes his escape, gets a hold of Sasha, who's been like reeling with her mother because like I haven't spoke to my boyfriend in in a long while. He hasn't, you know, uh, he doesn't take this long without calling me back at some point. And it's like, you didn't put two and two together. He's supposed to be a smart woman. And it's like, clearly, Manor did something to that guy. You don't bother to like ask up with her, your mother, and say like, okay, where's Mandarin? I want to speak to my boyfriend because I don't know where he is. And and the last known whereabouts is with him. But, you know, uh, after making an escape and Stain explains to her like what happened, they, because Stark tries to warn her, but she wasn't answering her phone calls. What happened to Babbage? Because the whole ordeal that went on, before this arc really popped off, he ends up popping, a bullet in his own head after things really got like to him. Working with Hammer and all the things he's been doing, and like it became too much, took his own life. Uh, then and trying to help, make sure like hey, I need to warn you, stay and escape. And you might be teaming up with your daughter, and like she doesn't believe him not one bit. She goes in her car, they're hiding in the back, of course, and then uh, and Zeke clearly kills her, blasts her with probably head off, and that's the end of that. And then the arc finally ends with this leads up to another Iron Man adventure where he goes up into space because he's trying to like you want to get away with everything because after this whole entire situation with like Fear Itself, Dark Reign, and situation with Mandarin and Stain. I needed like a change of scenery for a while. So this little image right here, this is what he uses to get up out into space. He meets up with the Guardians of the Galaxy for a stint. Then later on during that event, he learns about him being adopted, and he has like a brother, uh, that kind of thing. It's a whole thing. Most of it's stupid. The last time I remember, uh, I think they try to retcon, you know, Tony's origin story a bit, but they kind of changed it back because no, he's legitimately the biological son of Howard and Maria Stark. It was stupid, like I said. But anyway, that is the entire run of the Invincible Iron Man. 2 hours, not as long as it was with the Punisher Max, but uh, it is a decent length. But I want to cover as much of the main story because each one of these arcs fed into the other, so I had to do it all. Uh, didn't want to make the same mistake with like Thor with the God Butcher arc because there was like a second arc introduction of Lady Thor, and I didn't do that, and I kind of regret that because it fed into Thor, Love and Thunder. But anyway, let me know what you thought of Invincible Iron Man 2008 run. What you liked, what you disliked about it, if you read it, before or recently. But I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. And like I said, you stick to like these particular arcs that covers pretty much like the main crux of everything that you need to know. So, Invincible Iron Man 2008, 1 through 6, Five Nightmares, 25 through 33, Hammer Girls, 510 through 515, Demon, 516, 520, Long Way Down, and 521 through 527, The Future. Uh, those are the ones that like you can focus on, so you can skip over the rest because those are tie-ins to major events that you don't really have to focus on that much. You can read it if you want to, but like I said, those are the main ones that I read off are the ones you can just pay attention to. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. In the next couple of weeks, I will be focused on Predator stuff. The movies, Prey, Predator 1, 2, and Predators, as well as Batman vs. Predator comic. So that will be the next comic book that I'll be covering. So look forward to that. And I will see you guys maybe Friday, playing more multiverses, but Saturday I might not because I'll be heading off to acting class. So my first day of acting class. So by the time I get home, it's not gonna be super late, but I probably won't feel like streaming. So, but I will see you guys soon. We'll play by ear. But